Hi, welcome to the Pro-Pilot Playbook podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Sean. We're both corporate pilots, and we created this podcast, if you're just joining us, first episode, to the whole purpose of us being here talking to you. Our whole mission in this world now is enabling people to become pilots faster and cheaper. And we cover a variety of topics in that realm on this podcast. And today, we are going to be talking about age groups for becoming a pilot. What's too young? What's too old?
That's right. Yeah, it's kind of a misconception that there's a age for retirement for pilots, when actually there is for the airlines, but not for any other aspect of pilots. And what's that age, Sean?
That's 65 years old. If you are flying for a 121 air carrier, which is an airline, a Delta, United, one of those smaller regional jet things, anything like that. That is mandatory government mandated retirement by the FAA at 65 years old. Now, after you retire from that airline, that doesn't mean you can't go out and fly charter or corporate, or go fly, any other thing. And I mean, there's several parts of this industry, and we cover that in the playbook, in the product itself we sell. But there are many jobs you can do as a pilot.
That's right, yeah, and there's lots of guys that transition at age 65 from the airlines back in the corporate world just because they love flying so much. So right. Don't think there's many people that are still being paid to fly as professional pilots in jet airplanes into their 70s.
Oh, yeah.
So the age thing is just really not a big deal. You do have to talk, we talk in another podcast, but you do have to pass a medical exam that's not that difficult. And you can have a few things wrong with you and still keep your license. So you can check out that segment if you're interested more on that topic. But the big thing is if you're looking for a second career in aviation and you're a little bit older, there's really
nothing
stopping you. So hopefully that's some encouragement for some people.
Yeah, with the need for pilots, I mean, I can see guys getting on with the airlines, in their late 40s.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's still enough time to reach the upper end of most of their pay scales. That's certainly enough time. By the time you turn 65, you'll be in that $300,000 a year bracket for sure.
Yeah, that's plenty.
Most of them are set on 15-year scales.
Gotcha.
So yeah, you're in the well into six figures.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the other end of the spectrum. I know we got a lot of fans that are just starting on their careers and maybe are in school still.
Or maybe some parents wanting to push their kids into this career field,
which we highly encourage. And if you check out our website, the Pro-Pilot you'll see all about our course. Just take a glance at it. We've developed a course that will get you started in aviation and save you thousands of dollars and lots of time. So check that out.
Years of time.
Yeah, years of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but if you're young and you're just starting out, the minimum age to get a private pilot's license, which is your first step in training, is 17. However, you can do solo, which is, I should have said your first step in training. It's your first rating. You can get that at 17.
First certificate, yep.
Yes, but part of your training, an integral part, is to fly an airplane solo by yourself. The FAA allows you to complete that step at age 16.
Right.
So you can actually start flight training, though, at any age.
Any age. I've had some very, very young children when I was flight instructing come out. I'm talking like 7, 8 years old.
Yes.
And, they weren't like hardcore training like
right.
we talk about doing in the playbook. But they were doing, maybe once a month they'd come out and take a lesson, and they had a log book. It was all, it's there forever.
Yeah.
And, even if they weren't planning on becoming professional pilots, they, eventually get their private pilot's license, which lasts forever. They'll be a pilot for the rest of their life.
That's right. You could be as young as 10 or 12 years old, and the training you receive is loggable flight time.
Right.
There's no age restriction on that. And if you get a lot of training and experience in studying, then once you turn 17, bam, man, you can just bang out your ratings.
Yeah, actually, my boys are 11 and 8, and one of them is expressing an interest in being a pilot. So I 100% plan on getting him out to the airport, and he's going to be, by the time he turns 16, he will be soloing on his 16th birthday. And
Yeah.
when he turns 17, and not only that, you don't have to just work on one certificate or rating. You know, I plan on getting him all the way through, you know, the instrument rating, training, and everything. So when he turns on his 17th birthday, he can take his private pilot's check ride.
Right.
And turn right around the next day and do his instrument rating check ride.
Yeah. And if you think about that from a career standpoint, the way the money is at the airlines, the longer you're there, the more money you make.
Yep.
But everyone has to retire at the same age.
Exactly.
They don't start at the same age, though. So if this situation that Sean's talking about with his son works out, which I'm sure it will, and he gets a seniority number at an airline at a very young age,
Yep.
he could make millions and millions more dollars compared to a counterpart that started later. So
You know, that reminds me of a story, actually, Mike. So, well, actually, finish what you're saying, because I imagine you're about to say, so even if you got at the airlines 3 or 4 years before one of your colleagues,
yeah.
you know, that's the last, if you look at the last 3 or 4 years of your career, when you're at that upper echelon of that pay scale, which I just mentioned was well over 300 grand.
Right. So
300
3 years, that's almost $1 million.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you made $1 million more than your peers just by getting hired 3 years sooner.
Right.
You know.
One of the, I call them kids, but one of the guys in the beta group for the Pro-Pilot Playbook, the actual product we sell, he went through the program and did a lot of the. He was about halfway through, this particular kid, but he did a lot of the tactics we put in there, but you know, talking your way into a jet and
Right.
how to legally log the jet time and
Right.
you know, all that kind of stuff. He was building time and making real money and not being a flight instructor
Right.
as much. Anyway, he got to the airlines and I was talking to him while he was in the training and everything. And one of the things he brought up was, I was asking him some of the things, like how many of the guys had degrees, how many of them didn't. And you know, one of the things he said was one of the guys in his class, this is he just got hired at the airlines. There was like 40 people in the class. And he was saying one of the people in the class just turned 21 the week before. And they all went out and celebrated his birthday party.
Oh, man.
So he's sitting and this is an airline that has a flow-through program, which means he'll go right to the major airlines with no interview or no application process. He'll go from flying an RJ, a little regional jet that holds 70 or 90 people, into the 737 or a 757 at a major airline, American, Delta, United. This one is American we're talking about here. But somebody just turned 21 in that class. Could you imagine? I mean,
That's unbelievable. He could be in his mid to late 20s and be at a major airline.
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, he's gonna be in his early 40s when he hits the top end. He'll top out on the pay scale
Right.
at that airline.
Right.
That means he still has 25 years of making, you know, probably by the time, I don't want to put words in anybody or make up numbers, but just use today's numbers. At that particular airline, I believe that the scale is like 318,000 is where it tops out or something like that. So he still has 25 years at $318,000 a year. And he'll be the seniority number. Everything's done by seniority at the airline. So he'll be at a top seniority number, able to bid those trips, only flying, you know,
Maui.
at 3 days a month. You know, working 3 days a month, pulling in that kind of cash.
And
he's going to have a great career, but he's not like an anomaly.
No.
Anybody can do this.
Right. Right. And anybody can do this of average intelligence, average health. And we will teach you the resources on how to get that done for you as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And the purpose of this podcast is to help you. We're trying to put out as much content, value-added content to you to help you launch your career. And if you need us for any reason, drop us a line at the podcast email.
Podcast at pro-pilotplaybook.com. Yeah, and remember, it doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. Just get to the airport and start training.
That's right. Thank you.